Greetings and much blessings. Mitakuye Oyazin. I've seen a few articles recently regarding how owners just abandon their pets. There was a dog one time that, you know, he was just very confused. He was just left at the Humane Society and he was just wondering when his family would pick him up. And that never took place. And I never seen what an animal looks like when it's depressed. And it just really just shocked me. It also reminds me of how when some people want to abandon their dogs, especially in places like Australia, but we'll also say Florida. And I say this because those two places, the in Australia they have the crocodile, in Florida they have the alligator. Of course, it's not just limited to Florida. You have Alabama, Louisiana, and parts of Texas, and Mississippi. A lot of those southern places where you would catch alligators. I'm pretty sure part of the Carolinas too, and maybe parts of Georgia. Somebody let me know. But with that said, I just see a lot of these pet owners. Most of them are just very cruel for the main reason as to why they even wanted a pet in the first place. I get it. We live in times where people just want more companion animals, a lot more companion animals, unfortunately, just due to the times that we live in. But, beyond that, most of these pets serve no other purpose, especially when especially when you get older or when that particular pet gets older. People just pretty much abandon that pet, pretty much not realizing that pet is also growing older just like you. It has a life just like you. What kind of life are you giving that pet? And right now, we're just merely talking about mammals, which can be cats, dogs, you name it. But this goes to the greater extent of even birds and even some insects and arachnids, some reptiles. People like to sometimes let these creatures loose and then they end up invasive species amongst a lot of places. So I'd say one can talk about the government all they want about the disparities of this world, but I look at a lot of the human population to blame. You can't just blame the powers that be. The power you have, and what are you doing with it? You're damaging the world yourself. And this is really unfortunate because going back to pets, those pets didn't deserve that fate, especially with dogs, because dogs, I feel personally, they're made to be a tool, not a pet. But if you have it as a pet, make sure it's specialized in whatever its purpose is. People just see it more like a companion, but don't realize, okay, companions stick together. You don't drop them off to be euthanized because you have to move. A lot of the statistics behind a lot of this is, uh, well, sometimes one has to move. Somebody had they're on the verge of having a child. Um, their living situation has changed. See, uh, certain pets have to remain in the family, especially with dogs, because they're used to a certain type of person around, certain people around. And then when you leave that or leave them, that just throws them off. Um, so that's the unfortunate part. Even a horse, same thing with horses. So this really goes deep. But that is to say that, you walking in your yard and you're walking with your dog, make sure you clean up after your dog. A lot of people I realize nowadays don't even do that, and then you end up stepping on something when you're out there in the yard. So, just from that standpoint, most pet owners are cruel. They don't think about the livelihood of that pet, and they don't think about the livelihood of people around them when they have that pet around. Some people have vicious dogs, that too. They don't have them fully chained up. I saw a man walking with his dog, and him and his dog got attacked by another dog that was not properly chained up. So there's a lot of these things like if you want to have a dog, make sure it's trained properly and make sure it's chained up, or make sure you have a face guard on it if it does have this tendency to bite, which they call that it's prey. I think something like prey tendencies. I think that's what it is. Uh, but I just say shame on a lot of people that have, a lot of these vicious animals and they don't have them trained the proper way, because your animal is pretty much uh the dominant one in the household. You're not. If your pet is vicious towards everybody around that it comes in contact with, even other dogs, that dog is the dominant one in the household. It's not you. So it's really unfortunate that, most people don't realize with certain breeds that require certain types of training or more training because certain breeds are very domineering by nature. And you got to be a certain person to know how to deal with certain breeds. I'd say with cats, with cats, you have to give them purpose too, just like dogs. You have to have them in an environment to where they can still be a cat. Don't just treat it as a house cat. Cats have this tendency to want to run away. Well, you have an environment where a cat can actually run around in. Most businesses have shop cats because they control the mice population and rats within their establishment. So a lot of places have cats nowadays roaming around. I mean, go to car dealerships or even at car dealerships, you see cats. But that's a cat literally still being a cat, in my opinion, versus you having it around in more of a human environment, and it's not even able to interact with other like creatures. Like there's not another cat around. I believe with when you get a dog, you got to get more than one dog. When you get a cat, you got to get more than one cat because they're used to that social dynamic. Likewise with guinea pigs. Guinea pigs are very social. Make sure they have another guinea pig around. Same thing with ferrets. Ferrets are very social. Uh, Birds, they're also very social and they're very monogamous. So you have to have actually another bird for it to pair up with, especially like parrots and stuff like that. Like they have to have social, like it can't just be limited to humans. Like, so that's another reason and another way humans are cruel. They treat pets like toys in many ways. And it's like, no, a pet is breathing and living and it has a soul just like you. It has a heartbeat just like you. Okay. So that's what's missing from all of this is just the angle and perspective of the actual pet that you acquire. Most people don't think about the life of that pet. They want that pet to evolve around their life. And whatever changes you have to make, you're just willing to abandon that pet just to move on with your life. Now, this is another twist to it. Avoid people that treat you like a pet, that are just willing to drop you off and move on with their life and think about your euthanasia. They probably don't really care too much to think about it, but that's pretty much what it is. Leaving you out to die, leaving you for dead, pretty much. They left you hanging, as they say. They threw you under the bus, as they say, as we see with pets that are left behind. Some pets are actually thrown out to the street to be ran over by cars. Yes, that's another conversation. If they end up having like a cat or dog or etc., maybe some ducks, who know? But they end up having a litter of offspring, whether some cubs, some hatchlings, some pups, you name it, some kittens. Some people leave a box of them out on the side of the street. I'm like, how come you can't just develop some type of a fundraiser or something? But yeah, that's the thing. You're going to be irresponsible. You make sure you have the cats, dogs, whatever, spayed or neutered. like if you don't want to deal with their offspring afterwards, right? So that's another way a lot of people are cruel that are pet owners. You don't clean up behind your pets for the most part. You have to clean up behind them just like you got to clean up behind yourself. So there's that. And I say all this is spiritual because animals connect. They see things on a different level most people do. They sense when somebody's not treating them right. They sense that. They end up having that separation anxiety. They start tearing up things in the home, depending on what type of pet that is. So you have to accompany them. You have to incorporate them in your life somehow. Make some changes to your life if you want to have a certain type of pet around, you know. So it's a lot of this that most people don't do. They don't make changes. They just assume they'll have this pet there waiting on them, happy to see them. No, it don't work that way. That pet is miserable because of you, or you made that pet miserable thinking that you know uh, you would always keep that pet around. That pet don't know no better. It really is bound by this idea that you're going to keep it around for the rest of his life. That's the way a lot of pets think, and pets don't live longer than humans. So is it that much of a sacrifice for you to just say I'm gonna keep this pet around for the rest of his life, especially if you give it a purpose? Like uh, most people don't do this though. Most people are very selfish about their pets. But for those who are not, y'all stay blessed, continue to stay blessed, and please stay on the straight and narrow.